Welcome to the shed, where I wrote the book Digital Inferno. It's at the bottom of my garden. It's also a place where I think about things like digital innovation and do some of my research. And I'm sharing with you something I'm calling the blockchain paradigm paradox. Now, a couple of days ago, I was working with a group of students, undergraduates, who were studying digital innovation with me. And it's a very interactive session, not really teaching, much more of a workshop. And we went online and we were looking at a often called disruptive digital innovation, which is Bitcoin. And that runs on blockchain technology. And we tried to get a Bitcoin wallet. And you would think that would be easy, particularly that Bitcoin and blockchain are often trumpeted as disruptive innovations, taking us into a new paradigm around anonymity and privacy, and going away from the traditional hierarchical control that banks have, kind of vertical control over us, to horizontal, flatter, trust-based structures. Couldn't be more massive than that. And when we talk about paradigm shifts, we talk about new ways of doing things, new behaviours, new systems, new assumptions that have a radical effect, often on an entire society. And that's a big promise to make, a paradigm shift. And not everyone has made that with Bitcoin and blockchain, but let's just have a look at it and see what the paradoxical nature of that is. When Bitcoin came along, it came along as the opportunity for people to transact without needing to go higher up in the hierarchy. They didn't need to go to banks, and there was a whole mistrust of banks around what's called the banking crisis, where all kinds of corruption stories broke, and that the banks were not to be trusted. And that collapse of hierarchy goes wider than banks too. And also the idea that we were being charged extra charges just to send money abroad, that we had to give up our information, which is still a major issue. And what Bitcoin offered us was the ability to transfer money, to trade, and to invest in a currency, a cryptocurrency, that was entirely trustworthy, as it ran on something called the blockchain, which was a distributed ledger. Now we go into various Googleable phrases there, but essentially, for the purposes of this little talk, what we're looking at is the opportunity for money to come back into the control of us, the people, that we could send money, that we could send a virtual currency without needing to go via traditional organisations who told us what we could do and couldn't do and collected information about us. So there it was. And there we were last week thinking, okay, let's go and have a look at how you might get a Bitcoin wallet and just see what it might be like for, in this case, me to buy £10 or £20 worth of Bitcoin, just to demonstrate to the students what that might look like and how easy it would be. So the old paradigm, if the old paradigm was all about having to show your passport and to prove who you are to banks and to sign things and have them approved by higher levels, and that we were supposed to trust those banks with our money and pay premium, money, costs and prices for different services. And this was my opportunity to show the students how quick and easy it would be to buy a bit of Bitcoin without any of that bother. Well, it didn't happen. Of course it didn't happen. There's been stories even recently about hacking of Bitcoin. There's been a kind of accusation that the whole of Bitcoin and blockchain was built on the dark web, and that's where it comes from, right back to its still to be discovered original founder, who we don't know. Is it an individual? Is it a group? Who are these Bitcoin miners who sit up all night mining the blockchain? You'll have to Google these phrases because I'm not going to explain them too much here. But the ideal still was, it should have been really easy for me to show them how to do that. Well, now we went on a major, reputable, trusted Bitcoin exchange and stumbled at the first stage. Now, it might sound like I'm complaining, because I completely understand that given the context around Bitcoin and blockchain and hacking and, mistrust, we certainly didn't see that paradigm shift that day. In fact, what happened was I had to give my name, my address, a phone number, have it verified. I was encouraged to give other information too, and I stumbled when I didn't have a driving license or a passport or some sort of photo ID to submit, and we couldn't go any further. Various emails arrived saying, you can complete this process, but we need this information from you. And suddenly we all felt in the room a bit disappointed. Even though we're not dumb, we understand why this stuff needs to be verified. But certainly if blockchain was this unhackable, 100% trustworthy new platform that was a digital innovation, disrupting the old way of doing things, we actually felt like we were just applying for a bank account and being turned down unless we proved who we said we were. Now there's the paradox. The paradox is that we have a new disruptive digital innovation that could be massive, but what we've actually got is the old paradigm asserting itself, often through regulation and the push for regulation, and our information needing to be looked after and trusted. And so what we find is that we're kind of being told, you just need to jump through this hoop of proof and of verification, and then we won't touch your data. That will all be private, and you can start trading on the blockchain and using cryptocurrencies. You can watch it go up and down and speculate. You can send cryptocurrency to other people, and within a limited range, you might even be able to buy and sell stuff as well. Now, we're sitting here a week later, and I'm seeing the students again, and I'm wondering whether I need to take my passport with me and have it scanned in. Should we try and get through that hurdle, or should we just give up and say, look, Bitcoin and blockchain is not the paradigm shift at the moment at all, even if when we get through the hoop, we're going to experience a completely different way of sending and receiving money and trading and so on. We've actually been made to go through an organization that's hierarchical, that's going to approve us. Someone's going to check that that passport in some way is valid. I'm not sure how they'll do it. And so I'm deciding, and I think what we might do is, just for the purposes of learning, see what happens next. But on a personal level, we certainly felt that we were not on the frontier of a paradigm shift while that amount of bureaucracy, so similar to the banks, a form to fill in online, and then to be given a yes or a no by someone or some algorithm, certainly didn't feel like the new horizon of digital innovation to us. Until that paradox gets resolved, we've actually got a version of a new paradigm, very much in the old paradigm. And that is not a paradigm shift at all. That's almost incremental innovation at the moment. So let's see what happens. If anything radical happens, I'll report back to you.